Marty Schupak and the Youth Sports Club is proud to present the Baseball Fielding Drills and Techniques video. This program will go into some of the most fundamental fielding skills for youth baseball players that will carry them into their later playing career for school teams and beyond. Many of the fielding skills can be taught in conjunction with integrating fun drills or games. Coaches are encouraged to change the drills they see to meet the needs and skill levels of their players and to create new ones. When it comes to fielding, repetition is the best way to teach and polish a young ball player's skill. Improvement is almost a guarantee for youth coaches and parents who follow the Baseball Fielding Drills and Techniques video. As always, Marty Schupak and the Youth Sports Club encourage improve as individuals, improve as a team, and have fun. 1. Off the wall. Fielding skills are developed in the most basic situations and activities that young kids participate in. Throwing a ball against a wall is something almost all people who play or played ball in their youth days have done. The proper fundamentals for fielding the ball off the wall may not be polished, but the repetition will help prospective youth baseball players develop hand-eye coordination. Players can catch the ball after one bounce, or they can throw high balls off the wall and catch the ball out of the air. Tennis balls work best for this drill. Participants can play games with themselves, such as determining how many balls they can catch in a row. 2. Wall ball. The simplicity of throwing a ball against a wall can be expanded to a competitive game with two players. Parents and coaches need to recognize that young kids love competition. In this wall ball game, two players alternate throwing off the wall for the other player to field. The first player to make an error loses. A game like this will help players with their hand-eye coordination, as well as with fielding short hops and hard ground balls in games. Wall ball can be played to a predetermined score. 3. Ready position. Coaches need to teach their youth fielders the correct ready position as the pitch is being delivered to home plate. This ready position is the foundation to sound fielding fundamentals. A player who's in the proper fielding position will have the best chance for recording an out. In the proper ready position, the fielder's feet should be a little more than shoulder length apart as he bends at the knees, not the waist. Players don't want to bend too low and become off balance. The player's hand should be in front of his body, between his knees, and relaxed, with the palms up or facing one another. Players can relax and get into the ready position on the wind-up. This is extremely important on the youth level because it's somewhat difficult for a young player to stay in one position for an extended period of time without becoming off balance. When in the ready position, the fielder should place his weight on the inside balls of his feet so he can push off and move in either direction. Make sure players do not rest their elbows or forearms on their thighs. 4. Catching a ground ball. When an infielder catches a ground ball, the foot on his glove side should be slightly in front of his other foot. Therefore, when an infielder goes from a ready position into this fielding position, a line can be drawn from the heel of the front foot to the toes of the back foot. When catching a ground ball, youth players should try to catch the ball in the center of their body. Reinforce to the player that their belly button should be facing the baseball. The ball should be caught in front of the player's body with the baseball glove out in front of the player, not underneath his body, which is done a lot on the youth level. A great coaching point is to look for the player's bill of his cap to be pointed down just before the fielder catches the baseball. If it is pointed down, the player is following the baseball into his glove. One of the biggest causes for errors on the youth level is that many young players will lift their heads early and not follow the ball into the glove. When catching the ball, the non-glove hand or throwing hand should be above the glove with the palm facing down. 5. Ground ball trio. 3 players line up next to one another in the infield. A coach rolls a ball to one of the players who fields the ball. All three players, however, transition from the ready position to the fielding position. This drill forces the players to anticipate the ball and be ready to field at all times. The players not fielding the ball should focus on technique only. This drill trains proper muscle memory so that in games, when a ball is hit to any of the infielders, they'll be conditioned into the proper technique. When fielding a ground ball, fielders should bring the ball up to their chest to protect from a bobble and for easy transition to the throwing hand. Coaches can call out whom they're going to roll the ball to, or they can make the throws random. 6. Bobble Drill. It's extremely important in baseball, and especially youth baseball, for players not to give up on the ball if they bobble it. In this drill, coaches should actually tell the player to control the baseball, then bobble or drop it on purpose. This way, we are teaching recovery with the ability to still get the base runner out. Too many youth players will bobble a ground ball and give up on the play. If they stayed with it, they would have had a chance to make a successful play. We can even have the players bobble the baseball twice and teach them to still try to make the play. Again, this drill is great for teaching players not to give up on the ball. It also emphasizes to the players that they need not rush or panic. There is still plenty of time to recover and throw the runner out. If the players practice their recovery, then they'll be more confident fielders in games. They'll also learn how much time is needed for them to throw a runner out. They can then judge whether a throw would be futile for catching the runner. Fielders also don't want to rush a throw they don't need to make and take a chance on making an unnecessary throwing error. Sometimes it's better for them just to hold on to the ball. This drill will condition the fielders into making such decisions. 7. Lateral movement, forehand. When moving laterally in the infield, the youth player has the best chance to make the play by staying low to the ground. Many times, young players will stand up straight while moving to either the left side or the right side, which makes it hard to get down to the ball. The player from the ready position will take a crossover step, which can come after a small jab step. This is the quickest way to get to a baseball. The forehand play is a lateral play moving to the player's glove side. The player should make sure the glove is in front of his leg when he reaches the ball. He should also try to catch the baseball in front of his body. When he catches the ball, he brings the glove up to the non-glove hand in a cushioning manner, plants his foot, and makes the throw to first base, always trying to square his shoulders to the target. Players should make sure to set themselves when throwing. They don't want to throw off balance or off the back foot. This may result in a throwing error. 8. Lateral movement, backhand. The backhand play is a lateral movement away from the player's glove side. A small jab step, followed by a large crossover step, enhances the player's chance of getting on top of the baseball. The same fundamentals should be stressed for going to both one's backhand and forehand. Players should never rush their throw, especially when making a backhand play. Youth players should always set their feet, turn their shoulders to the target, and make a strong, accurate throw. When moving laterally, players should take a good angle to the ball, run straight to it. Players should never circle the ball or let the ball come to them. 9. Stay low. In this creative fielding drill, an assistant coach holds a rope tied to a fence. The players involved in the exercise will line up on one side of the rope in the ready fielding position. Another coach stands on the opposite side of the rope with a bucket of baseballs. On the go command, the coach tosses ground balls. The players, one at a time, have to move laterally under the rope to field the baseball. The goal is to field the ball cleanly without hitting the rope above them. This forces the players to stay low while moving toward the baseball, whether it's to their backhand or forehand. Coaches should try to reinforce to players that in addition to staying low, fielding the baseball in front of his body is also important. In this drill, if the player cannot catch the ball, it's just as beneficial to stop the ball and keep it in front of him. This can be achieved by staying low when fielding. Again, young players tend to reach for the ball when fielding. This drill forces players to move their legs and stay low, which is crucial for proper fielding mechanics. Make sure the coach holding the rope is wearing gloves. 10. Goalie Drill. This is a fun competitive drill where fielders get to emulate a hockey goalie. Like a goalie in hockey, the objective for the fielders is to keep the ball in front of them. In this drill, a coach tries to throw tennis balls by the fielder, who stands in between two cones, acting as a goalie. The fielder doesn't have to catch the ball. All he has to do is prevent the ball from getting by him by blocking the ball with any part of the body. This reinforces the concept of still being able to make an out without having to catch the ball cleanly, as long as the ball is kept in front of the body. In this exercise, the player will receive a point for every successful blocked ball. Once a ball gets by the player in between the cones, the next participant goes. It is best to use tennis balls or soft-covered balls in this drill. Remember that young players love challenges and competition.
Next.
11. No hands. A drill whose main purpose is to address the habit of players not moving their feet when fielding is called the no hands drill. As mentioned before, young players tend to reach for the ball with their glove rather than move their feet to square up to the ball. In this drill, coaches should use soft-covered balls of all different sizes. Like the goalie drill illustrated earlier, the players stand between two cones and must try to keep the ball from going past them. Unlike the goalie drill, the players cannot use their hands, which forces them to get in front of the ball to stop it, which would be the proper fielding position. They must clasp their hands behind their backs. Once a ball gets by the fielder, he steps out and another player goes. The simplest, silliest drills can be the most popular, and it's a great change of pace to have a transition from a hard drill to an easy drill. Players love the challenge in this drill, and we are also reinforcing the players moving their feet toward the direction of where the ball is going. 12. No glove drill. Players will form habits the way they practice, be it the correct or incorrect way. A great drill for youth players is the no glove drill. Players leave their gloves aside and will form a line, either at third base or shortstop. Using soft-covered balls, the coach will throw grounders to each player in line. The player will field the baseball and throw the ball to first base. He will then go to the end of the line. This drill reinforces to the players to move laterally toward the ball instead of reaching. Again, players should try to field the baseball in the center of their body. This drill also forces players to field the baseball with two hands. Drills such as this will translate into proper technique when the player is using a glove. 13. Error. Players line up at the shortstop area. A coach hits hard ground balls or line drives to each player in line. If the fielder cannot field the ball cleanly, then he loses the game and must sit out until the next round. The last player to make an error wins the game. Coaches must be creative to get his players comfortable fielding. Competitive games like these are great ways to not only teach proper fielding mechanics, but to also help players stay loose and relaxed in games. Coaches should hit ground balls hard or soft, depending upon the age and skill level of the players involved. 14. Catch and run. This is a great drill that allows for a lot of repetitions of ground balls and fly balls in a short period of time and in a confined area. Here the players form a line by third base. The coach stands by home plate with a bucket of balls. The coach throws a soft ground ball to the first player in line, who charges the baseball, picks it up, throws it back to the coach, and runs out diagonally to a cone by the shortstop position. The coach will then throw a fly ball over the player's head. He should catch it, plant his foot, and throw the ball to the first baseman or at a target, like a screen or a stack of boxes. We are combining 3 skills in this drill: catching a ground ball, catching a fly ball, and throwing to a target. Fundamentals should always be reinforced, such as watching the ground ball into the glove and turning the lead shoulder toward where the fly ball is going. 15. Outfield ready position. Just as players need to get into the ready position in the infield, It's just as important for youth baseball players to get into this position in the outfield. Many times outfielders stand straight up or rest their arms on their knees while the pitch is thrown. This position does not allow the outfielders to be in a good position to get a good jump on the ball. Outfielders should have a similar ready position to the infielders, except they don't have to be as low to the ground. The outfielders should bend their knees, keep their feet about shoulder length apart, and keep their arms in front of them. All players, whether infield or outfield, should anticipate the ball and be on the balls of their feet. Again, coaches should emphasize and practice that players need not be in the ready position until the pitcher begins his windup. 16. Catching fly balls in the outfield. Getting a good jump is the key to an outfielder's success, which comes with practice and repetition. On a fly ball hit to one of the outfielders, the outfielder should take his first step back, locate the ball in the air, and track the ball accordingly with quick long strides toward a predetermined spot on the field where the outfielder thinks the ball will land. An outfielder's first step should never be in, because they don't want to misplay the ball over their heads and have to chase it to the fence. On a ball hit over the outfielder's head, many players will mistakenly back up with their shoulders squared toward home plate. Backing up on the ball the wrong way limits the speed of the outfielder and forces bad footwork. Players need to turn their shoulder to where the ball is going and run to it with a purpose. Remember, when catching a baseball on the run, the player should know that he does not have to catch the ball with two hands. Many times, reaching out with only his glove hand will give the outfielder the best chance to catch the baseball. Fielders should turn to the side the ball was hit and have the front shoulder lead them toward the ball. If the outfielder turns the wrong way, they may lose sight of the ball, track the ball incorrectly, and turn themselves around with improper footwork while trying to readjust. It is always best for fielders to settle under the ball. However, if it is hit too hard, they must catch it while tracking it on the run. 17. Lead drill. An excellent drill that gets players used to running with their lead shoulder is the lead drill. Players line up next to a coach in the outfield. On the go command, the first player in line runs out as the coach leads him with a fly ball pass, much like how a quarterback leads his receiver in football. After catching the ball, the player returns to the end of the line, dropping his ball in a bucket by the coach. When catching the ball, the player must continuously look over their shoulder to track the ball. Making an over-the-shoulder catch with either one or two hands is preferable. Players should refrain from making basket catches. Once players become somewhat proficient with this drill, the coach can throw the ball farther and to different locations in the field. Players must be comfortable making catches with their backs or shoulders to the field. Very rarely will the ball be hit right at a fielder. Again, outfielders should be comfortable catching while on the run. 18. Outfielders charging ground ball. Like in the infield, outfielders don't want to let the ball play them. They must be aggressive to the ball, which means on ground balls hit to the outfield, the outfielders have to charge the ball and quickly get into a throwing position to prevent the other team from taking extra bases. Many times in youth baseball, outfielders wait for the ball to stop rolling before picking it up. This is wrong for every level of baseball. Coaches should teach their players to charge the oncoming ball with their glove close to the ground, ready to scoop. Then they must transition quickly into a throwing position, knowing where the base runners are and who is taking the cutoff. Outfielders must be careful not to overrun the ball. They must not lift their head until the ball is all the way in the glove. 19. Charging a stationary ball. Sometimes, no matter how hard the outfielder charges a ground ball, he cannot get to it before it stops rolling. In these cases, the outfielder can pick it up with his bare hand. This will help the outfielder get the ball back into the infield as quickly as possible. Again, outfielders have to be careful not to overrun the ball. Also, players should not pick up the ball flat-footed. He should be ready to throw the ball to the necessary base. The fielder should try to pick up the ball with a grip that allows him to get off an accurate throw. If the fielder has to change the grip after he picks up the ball, he may allow runners to take extra bases. Charging the ball is an important yet overlooked aspect of baseball. Practicing this technique can help cut down on runs scored on the ball hit to the outfield. 20. Outfielder cutting off baseball. Many times in youth baseball, the ball gets by the outfielder, and the hitter will end up getting a double or even a triple instead of being held to a single. Players need to learn the concept of taking the proper angle of pursuit to cut off the ball. Like a receiver in football, the outfielder should anticipate and run to where the ball is going, not where it is. The youth player who is not experienced will tend to run at the ball instead of running to where the ball is going to be. If a player runs right at the ball, he may not get to it in time, and the ball will roll right past him and all the way to the wall. Players should anticipate the best angle, which usually leads to circling the ball so that it brings the fielder in front of its projected path. This will also leave the fielder in the best position to throw the ball. Coaches should also emphasize to youth players that when running to cut off the ball, it is okay if they don't field the ball cleanly, as long as they keep it in front of them. 21. Backing up on overthrow. Outfielders should always back up the infield in case of overthrows. Backing up is a basic fundamental of baseball and can prevent extra runs from scoring in games, especially in youth baseball where overthrows are prevalent. Coaches should practice the art of backing up throughout the season. The left fielder should always back up the third baseman, with a base runner on second base trying to steal third, and with any other situation that may occur. The left fielder should run to the sideline and then come in toward the base. He should be careful not to get too close to the bag, because then the ball could be overthrown past the third baseman and the left fielder backing up. If the left fielder does not run to the line, then he won't be taking the correct angle to prevent an overthrow. The same concept holds true for the center fielder when backing up second base. This backup situation occurs mostly when a runner tries to steal second base. The center fielder must be careful not to run in too close to second base, because the ball could then be thrown by him, and no one is available to back up the center fielder. The right fielder should back up first base on a bunt with the throw going to first base. Like the left fielder who backs up third base, the right fielder should run to the line and then in toward the bag. When the outfielders catch an overthrown ball, it's best for them to run the ball in to the closest bag. Coaches in the youth level should emphasize to his fielders not to make unnecessary throws. 22. Catching colors, fly balls. In this drill, a coach needs a bucket of balls. He places a piece of blue masking tape on 1/3 of the balls, yellow masking tape on another third, and no masking tape on the remaining balls. As the coach throws the baseball up into the air, the player has to recognize and call out the color of the baseball. This drill is forcing the young player to keep his eye on the baseball. Most errors on the ground or in the air in youth baseball games occur when the player takes his eyes off the baseball. This drill conditions the athlete to keep his eyes right on the ball for the purpose of determining the color, which will help the player ultimately catch the baseball in games. The player must yell out the color once he recognizes it. 23. Calling colors, ground balls. The colored ball drill is just as effective and even more so when practicing ground balls. The fielder is forced to watch the baseball go into his glove. The biggest mistake fielders make is to turn or lift their head before fielding the ball. Forcing a player to call out the color of the ball as he fields it ensures he keeps his head down and belly button squared to the ball and watches the baseball go into his glove and not lift his head up prematurely. This is a great drill to perform throughout the season because it emphasizes important fundamentals. 24. Shielding sun. When there's no sun in the sky for a fielder to battle while trying to catch a pop-up, he has a clear, unobstructed view of the ball in the sky and can make an easy catch. However, many times a ball will get lost in the sun or the lights, and the fielder will have the helpless feeling of not being able to find the ball. There is a technique, which should be reviewed in practice, which helps players block out the sun when a ball is hit into the air. When the ball is hit into the air, the player should immediately locate the ball and shield the light source from his eyes with his baseball glove. Players should hold the gloved hand up in the air, the glove closed and blocking the sun or lights. Camp under the ball and open the glove at the last second to catch the ball. Coaches can have their players perform this skill with no glove and a tennis ball to emphasize how important it is to use their hand to block out the sun. To test if they can see the ball the entire way, have the players clap their hands before catching the tennis ball. Younger players can practice catching fly balls in the sun using their glove and with a tennis ball to gain confidence before progressing to catching a hard ball. This is a difficult skill to master. However, with repetition comes success. This technique should be practiced with both the sun and with night lights on a field. Once mastered, a fly ball in the sun or lights should become a routine catch in games. 25. Calling for the ball. Calling for the baseball is something that must be practiced. If no one calls for a pop fly, then fielders can collide with each other, and errors and injuries will occur. It's so easy to yell, "I got it," yet even professionals fail to communicate. Instilling drills that force players to call for the ball will make them better fielders in games. It also helps players learn the habits of their teammates. 26. Super Ball Drill. This is a challenging drill that teaches players how to call for a fly ball. 4 players stand around the pitcher's mound with their backs to the pitching rubber. The coach places on the mound a 4-inch cinder block or a flat rock. He will bounce a rubber ball off the cinder block. The players must quickly turn around and find where the ball is in the sky. If the ball is coming down between 2 players, then they have to call for the ball, and one of them has to catch it. This drill teaches players to react, find the ball, and judge whether they should call for the ball. There is no better way to reinforce good teamwork and communication, which is extremely important, even at the youth level. Just as important as knowing when to call for the ball, it's equally important to know when to back away from a fly ball. 27. First base. The first baseman is the key to the infield because he's responsible for the majority of the putouts made at first base, which is one of the most common plays in baseball. When a ball is hit to one of the infielders, the first baseman should square his shoulders to the position where the throw is coming from. If the first baseman throws with his right hand, then his right foot should remain on the inside of the bag as he stretches out with the opposite foot and arm to meet the ball. It's the opposite for lefties. Many first basemen stretch for the ball before the ball is thrown, which is incorrect, because they will be off balance if and when they have to readjust their stretch to compensate for a not-so-accurate throw. First basemen must be comfortable stretching to catch low balls, high balls, and even scooping balls out of the dirt. An important fundamental to playing first base is knowing when to come off the bag to catch an errant throw. Leaving the bag may result in the runner reaching safely. However, it could also prevent him from taking an extra base on a wild throw. If the throw takes the first baseman down the first base line, he could apply the tag on the runner before he reaches the bag. This play is extremely important, especially in youth baseball, and should be practiced as much as possible. 28. First baseman receives bunt. As we mentioned in the previous drill, the first baseman must square his shoulders to the position where the ball is coming from. The same holds true for receiving throws from the catcher or pitcher from a bunt. The first baseman's feet should be parallel to the bag when receiving the ball from the catcher. His foot on the glove side should be on the inside of the bag. It is extremely important for the first baseman to give a big target to his teammates. This will help with accurate throws. 29. Pitcher covers first base. Another important yet overlooked aspect of the pitcher's position is to cover first base on any ball hit to the right side of the infield. particularly to first base. Sometimes the first baseman has to come off the line to field the ball. If he doesn't have time to beat the runner to the base, the pitcher must explode off the mound and run directly to first base, beating the runner and receiving a toss from the first baseman as he steps on the inside of the bag. Coaches should encourage his pitchers to cover first base on all balls hit to the right side, even if the first baseman can call him off and take the out himself. 30. Rundowns and home plate coverage. Another important baseball tip is when there's a rundown between third base and home, teach your first baseman to back up home plate when he sees the catcher going up the line. Teach this responsibility to the first baseman and make him accountable. And again, this is something that has to be practiced and cannot just be reminded in a game. As coaches, if we're making players 10, 11, and 12 responsible for actions on the field, it is only fair that we practice as many situations as possible. 31. Covering second base.
David, I got steal. James, I'll back you up.
Communication is the key to a team's success on the field, whether it's calling for a fly ball or deciding who's going to cover second base on a steal. The shortstop is the captain of the infield. He should be the one to direct his teammates in the field. Youth teams should keep things simple and always have the shortstop take the throw on a steal and have the second baseman back him up. An important teaching point for defending against the steal is to encourage communication between the shortstop and second baseman before the play, so there are no mix-ups. The shortstop and second baseman should address each other by name to avoid confusion with other teammates. Practicing good communication will make a team better defensively. 32. Football toss. Many times in youth baseball, it is difficult for young players to understand the concept of leading a teammate to the base with a throw. For example, if there's a runner at first base and a ground ball is hit to shortstop, the second baseman must cover second base for the force play. The shortstop must lead the second baseman to the base with an accurate toss of the baseball for the out. A great drill to teach this fundamental is to practice with a football. Many youth players will understand a concept in one sport and then apply it to another. Coaches should be encouraged to illustrate the concept in the other sport before relating it to the sport they're playing. In football, many players understand the concept of the quarterback leading the receiver with a pass. If the shortstop and the second baseman can better visualize the concept of leading the other with a football toss to the base, then they will eventually grasp the same concept when using a baseball. Leading the fielder or throwing to the base is very important in baseball, and a skill that players will use at all levels of the game. You don't want to have fielders covering the base have to reach for the ball or leave the base to make the catch. Leading one another is very important because it helps prevent unnecessary runs from scoring. Players should feel comfortable tossing the ball to an empty base. Someone will be there to cover. Baseball is a game of timing, and the shortstop and second baseman must work on their timing with this important leading drill. 33. Relays. On a ball hit to right field, the second baseman will run out and take the cutoff throw from the right fielder. The second baseman must form an imaginary line from the base he intends to throw to the right fielder. The shortstop should be directing the second baseman as he runs out for the relay. The cutoff man should provide the outfielder with a big target. He should have his arms raised while yelling "cutoff." On a ball hit to left field, the shortstop becomes the cutoff man, as the second baseman covers second base. The second baseman should now guide the shortstop so that he is directly between the left fielder and second base for an easy throw. Hitting the cutoff man is extremely important on all levels of baseball and cannot be over-practiced. It shortens the throws from the outfield and prevents opponents from taking extra bases. 34. Third base cutoff ground ball. Sometimes on a slow ground ball hit toward the shortstop, It may be more beneficial for the third baseman to cut in front of the shortstop to field the ball. The third baseman's momentum will be moving toward first base, which will yield a stronger, more accurate throw than the shortstop, who would have to pivot and throw. The shortstop should not stand idly by while the third baseman cuts in front of him. He should be ready to field the ball if the third baseman overruns or misses the ball. Practicing a play like this will force players into being more aggressive in the field. 35. Third baseman on bunt. Another important responsibility of the third baseman is to charge toward the batter if he squares to bunt. Once the batter squares, he must begin to charge. The third baseman must also be careful if the batter squares to bunt and then brings the bat back to swing. In this case, the third baseman should recognize the situation, stop charging, and quickly backpedal into his original position. When fielding a bunt, the third baseman can either use his glove hand or non-glove hand, depending on how slow the ball was bunted. On a slow bunt, the third baseman can save time by picking up the ball with his bare hand. On a ball bunted hard down the third base line, he can field it with his glove. In both scenarios, the third baseman must transition into a throwing position quickly. 36. Wheel play. When a batter squares to bunt, the third baseman charges in. If there's a runner on second base at the time, the shortstop must rotate over and cover third base. If the catcher or third baseman receives the bunt in time, then they could try to throw out the lead runner. This play must be practiced before utilizing it in a game. 37. Rundowns, one throw. There are numerous theories about how to teach rundowns to players 10, 11, and 12 years old. Coach Marty Schupak has been most successful when he teaches his players to try to only make one throw when they have a player in a rundown. We do not want to give too many things for the players to think about, such as throwing lanes or running the base runners back to the base they came from. Players should try to get the out, but should do so on one throw if possible. And of course, have your team practice rundowns between each base, and make sure outfielders get involved, coming near the infield to back up. 38. Ball tag. Many youth fielders receive the ball and wait for the base runner to come to them before applying the tag. They also tend to tag the base runner high on the body or in the thigh area, which usually allows the base runner's foot to reach the base safely before any tag. This ball tag drill is a great way to emphasize the correct way to apply the tag. A coach rolls a large rubber ball toward a base. A fielder stands over the base and waits to receive a throw from his teammate in order to tag the large rubber ball before it reaches safely to the base. This drill reinforces the idea of applying the tag low and near the base before the object reaches safely. The ball rolls quickly to the base, so the fielder must be quick and accurate with his tag, which means he cannot lunge at the ball as if he were going to apply a tag on a runner's thigh. Every player should get an opportunity at performing this drill. Coaches can work their way up to having players applying tags on real base runners. 39. Fielding pitcher. It is extremely important that the pitcher realizes he has a responsibility to field as well as pitch. After his delivery, he should be in a position to field the ball. Proper pitching mechanics will force a pitcher to be squared to home plate in a ready fielding position that is balanced. Pitchers should also know where to throw the ball if a ball is hit back to him. Many times a ball is hit back to the pitcher, and he'll automatically throw to first base when he could have thrown out the lead runner. If there is a runner on second base and the ball is hit back to the pitcher should check the runner to see if he has a play. If the base runner has taken off for third base, the pitcher can throw the ball to the third baseman or run and tag him out on his way to third. The pitcher can also run the base runner back to the base he came from. These are very common plays in games but are rarely practiced. 40. Passed ball. Almost every youth baseball game has passed balls or wild pitches. However, coaches rarely take the time in practice to review ways to safeguard against further damage, especially if there's a base runner on third trying to score. Practicing will enable pitchers to get used to covering home plate and learning how to apply the tag on the runner. Practicing also enables the catcher to get used to recovering the baseball and tossing it correctly to the pitcher covering home. Once the pitcher realizes the ball went by the catcher, he should run home and cover the plate, directing the catcher to the ball. The catcher should toss the ball low and to the third base corner side of the plate. The pitcher should put his glove in between the runner and the plate so that the runner has no angle to the plate and can only slide into his glove. 41. Wild pitch. Here's a great technique to teach your team if your opponent has the bases loaded or runners on second and third. On a wild pitch or passed ball, when your pitcher goes to cover home, have your second baseman go to the base of the pitcher's mound. He's backing up the throw from the catcher to the pitcher in case the ball is overthrown or mishandled. This way, he will prevent an extra run from scoring. This technique has to be practiced and cannot just be told to the second baseman when the situation comes up in a game. It is apparent to everyone who has watched youth baseball games that errors will occur during the game. Teaching players the importance of backing up will go a long way and maybe even save a game or two during the season. 42. Catcher fields bunt. When a batter puts down a bunt, the catcher must pop up from the squat position, take off his mask, and field the ball. When fielding a ball right in front of home plate, the catcher must drift into the field as he picks up the ball so he has a better angle for the throw without hitting the base runner. Dependent upon the skill level of the catcher, one or two hands can be used to pick up the ball. There are two methods for fielding the ball closest to the third base line. Beginning catchers can field the ball like any other ball in front of the plate, making sure that their momentum takes them into the field for a better angle at the first baseman. A more advanced catcher can circle the ball and perform a short, compact spin as he picks up the ball. This will put him in a great position to make an accurate throw. Again, coaches must stress in this drill to make the throw away from the first base line so that the ball doesn't hit the base runner. 43. Play at plate. Knowing the correct way to block the plate can save the game for your team. As the catcher anticipates a relay throw, he must know where he is in relation to home plate and how far down the third base line the base runner is. If the catcher has enough time, then he can get in between home plate and the base runner and wait for the base runner to slide into his glove. The catcher does not want to give the base runner an opening to home plate. He should use his legs and glove to hide and obstruct the plate. The catcher should also never reach for the base runner to apply the tag. He should always let the base runner come to him. 44. First to third. This drill stretches out a youth player's arm as well as introduces great endurance and conditioning. The players have to throw the longest distance in the infield, from third base to first base. The team is split into two equal lines, one at first base and one at third base. The player at first base will throw the ball to the first person in line at third base. He then throws to the next person in line at first base, who receives the ball like a first baseman. The players at first base will run to the end of the line at third base by way of second base around the diamond after they throw. The players at third base will run to first base by way of home plate around the diamond after they throw the ball. Adding the running in this drill allows the coach to involve all players with very little or no downtime. Coaches should always look to add anything so players are not standing around for any sustained period of time. Coaches should make sure the players are always moving in the same direction. 45. Robbing home runs. The coach will throw a tennis ball toward the fence as if it were a potential home run ball. The player must jump up and try to save the home run. Like in the goalie drill, the players do not have to catch the ball. They will receive a point just for blocking the ball from going over the fence. This drill will teach players to know where the fence is when going back for a ball. Though it might not seem too realistic to practice saving numerous home runs, getting youth players comfortable making plays near a fence is a great concept to teach players on the youth level. And youth players love this drill. Coaches must make sure that the players have fun, but even the most enjoyable game should have a baseball theme to it.
Next.
46. Last man standing. Baseball players of any level love competition. In last man standing, players form a line by the shortstop position. The coach creates a large target on top of first base. Here we see a cone, which sits atop a box, all on top of a garbage can. Coaches can be creative and construct any type of target they want. Just make sure it forces the players to aim at the base as if a first baseman were there. The coach hits a hard ground ball to the first player in line. He must field the ball cleanly and throw the ball to the target. If the player does not field the ball cleanly, or if he misses the target, then he's out of the drill. The last player standing, or the last player not to make an error or miss the target, wins the game. After a few repetitions through the line, the coach can move the players back a few steps to make the play more difficult. Remember that young players love using props. Here, the boxes and cones provide an excellent and stimulating challenge for the young players. (47) Out reminders. Always have your players vocalize the number of outs there are. Players will forget, and even coaches need to be reminded. We have to keep letting players on the field know how many outs there are. Coaches should also keep the bench players' heads in the game by constantly asking them the number of outs. The infielders should let the outfielders know how many outs there are after every recorded out. Coach Marty Schupak's bonus tips. 1. Teach your players in the field to ask themselves, what do I do if the ball is hit to me? 2. Use simple progression drills with soft-covered balls for young players to teach them to catch fly balls. 3. It is better and more controllable to have a smaller glove rather than a bigger one for infielders. 4. Give youth players who are lefties a chance to play catcher and play the infield. 5. Always talk to your players when they're in the field. This will keep them awake. Say things like, "Hey Johnny, this one looks like it might be coming your way." 6. Challenge your players in a close game. Yell out, "I need a big play from someone." 7. Don't hide the same players in the outfield each and every game. 8. If you become coach of All-Stars, make sure at the parents' meeting you express to parents that each All-Star is expected to play all 9 positions and with enthusiasm. 9. Having your team learn to back each other up in the field will not only win games, but keeps players more involved and less bored while in the field. 10. If a player makes a fielding mistake, reinforce to them to forget it and move on to the next play. The Baseball Fielding Drills and Techniques video shows numerous drills that coaches and parents can use to teach some of the most important skills in baseball. Creativity is always encouraged. Successful fielding can be the difference in not only a game, but in a season. The importance of repetition is made easier and more enjoyable for both the players and the coach who follow the material in the Baseball Fielding Drills and Techniques video. So let's catch our way on to a successful season.